Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox and I'd like to welcome you to week 2 of my 2-week 10-part exploration of the 10 hallmarks of an effective compliance program. Today we are at hallmark number 6, which is incentives and disciplinary measures. I think people would recognize that financial incentives are a strong driver of conduct within a corporation, but you should also recognize that there are non-financial incentives that are going to be critical. So we're going to talk about some of these in the context of incentives. So the general ideas around incentives is that you don't have to be extravagant or groundbreaking. Even plain Jane, plain vanilla incentives can work if you deliver them consistently and if you make the rewards visible. The FCPA Guidance states that beyond financial incentives, some companies have highlighted compliance within their organization by recognizing compliance professionals and internal audit staff. Others have made working in a company's compliance organization an effective way to advance one's career within the organization. So there's two things that we're going to try and unpack. Kind of the first question I get pretty often is, how do you measure compliance around incentives? To give an incentive? Well, the first thing is that I think measurement of really non-specific metrics is something that is taken into account in employee evaluations at all times, every year. And if you think about a compliance component to a discretionary bonus function, I think that can be a very powerful tool to send a message to employees. So what are some of the things that you can evaluate in terms of senior management? Well, you can look to see if they led by example in their own conduct and decisions that are taken. Did they devote resources and time to compliance? Did they facilitate and proactively practice day-to-day activities, such as key compliance competencies, both internally and to external stakeholders as well? Were there specific support initiatives from the CEO, from the general counsel, and from other non-compliance functions? For middle management, did they demonstrate, facilitate, and proactively engage in the day-to-day activities that are key compliance competencies? Do they support specific initiatives from the company's compliance function? Do these middle managers ensure that all employees, agents, and contractors complete their compliance training in a timely manner? How about providing full cooperation with any investigation, risk assessment, internal audit conducted by the compliance function? Did middle management include the chief compliance officer or the compliance function in any meetings throughout the year? What about an annual sales meeting? Are there any instances of non-compliance or supported monitoring that a middle manager has brought up? And did middle management partner with compliance in resolving issues? What about down for the frontline troops that are out there in the field? You can certify that all employees, agents, and contractors working with you directly or indirectly reported interactions with foreign government officials in a timely manner. You can certify that employees, agents, and contractors directly or indirectly reporting to you have fully and promptly and accurately recorded all expenses with third parties. So these are some of the things that you can measure, but here you're really only limited, as in all areas of compliance, by your imagination. What about promotions? Not often considered, but I think becoming more and more important in the compliance field in the incentive realm is promotions. So here I would really suggest you talk to your folks at HR, because this is something HR does on a day in and day out basis, particularly when you promote an employee up to senior management. You could get HR to help you lead, take the compliance lead in an effort only to promote those employees who have demonstrated a commitment to doing business. Once again, it's important that ongoing employee evaluations and promotions be seen as fair. This means that if an employee who is seen not to have done business ethically and in compliance with your code of conduct is promoted repeatedly, then employees below him will get the message. The other thing is that in the promotion process, it gives you the opportunity to communicate and re-emphasize your company's commitment to having not only employees who do business ethically, but middle and senior management. So every time you have the opportunity to have such a touch point, I think it's important that you take the opportunity to do so. Discipline. So the FCPA Guidance states that in addition to evaluating the design and implementation of a compliance program throughout an organization, enforcement of that program is fundamental to its effectiveness. A compliance program should apply from the boardroom to the supply room. No one should be beyond its reach. The DOJ and SEC will consider, when enforcing a compliance program, whether a company has appropriate and clear disciplinary procedures and whether those procedures have been applied reliably and promptly and are commensurate with the violations. And also, did you publicize the result of those violations? Here it's important that I think everyone understands that the types of discipline within a company are fairly standard. It's most generally any negative consequence up to and including termination. But I think the key is really the procedural fairness that you have around your disciplinary process. So this is called the Fair Process Doctrine, and the doctrine recognizes that there are fair procedures, not arbitrary ones, involving rights and the right to work and employees' rights. Considerable research has shown that people are more willing to accept negative, unfavorable, and non-preferred outcomes when they believe that they have been arrived at by procedures and processes that are perceived as fair. So by adhering to the Fair Process Doctrine, it's really critical for you in the area of discipline if you want to have credibility with the rest of your workforce. But the discipline must not only be administered fairly, but it must be administered consistently and uniformly across the company. So simply put, if you're going to fire employees in South America or Central Asia or the Far East for lying on their expense reports, you have to fire them in North America for the same offense. It doesn't matter if the North American employee is a friend of yours or worse yet, a high producer. Failure to administer discipline uniformly will destroy any vestige of credibility that you have developed in your compliance program. So the key here, I think, is uniformity, consistency, that no executive is above compliance and no employee is above or below compliance. No one within an organization is deemed too valuable to be disciplined if that discipline is warranted. On the subject of incentives, rewarding good behavior and is the flip side of sanctioning bad behavior. The rewarding of good behavior also needs to be done uniformly in a consistent manner and under the Fair Process Doctrine. This is Tom Fox. I'd like to thank you very much for listening to this episode of the FCPA Compliance Report and my exploration of the 10 hallmarks of an effective compliance program. If you'd like more information, please check out my book, Doing Compliance, Design, Create, and Implement an Effective Compliance and Anti-Corruption Compliance Program, which is available through Compliance Week. Thank you very much.